wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Piledriver Weekly. My name is Electric Eric Davidson, and this is my co-host, Mr. Ace Larson. We're going to get things kicked off as normal with OVW this week. Alright, OVW, emanating as always from the Davis Arena. The show opens up with a match between Paradise and a newcomer, Aaron Sky, his debut on OVW television. And I tell you, Sky was pretty impressive for,
rookie.
Yeah, rookie, a young green guy. He did botch one move in there. He tried doing something off the top there, kind of botched it. But other than that, he looked pretty good, pretty impressive. He's a real quick, high flyer kind of guy. And he's kind of got that rock and roll look, which, I got the rock and roll look. So, Paradise does get the win here, though. And Jay Bradley comes out afterwards, and he clotheslines Paradise, and then tosses Aaron Sky out of the ring. He gets on the mic, and he declares himself the top contender. And he challenges Jamin Olivencia. And then out comes Michael Hayes, and he's kind of like, hold up here, I make the matches around here, I'm the director of operations. Then out comes the Coalition, and I tell you what, man, I like this whole Coalition
angle.
Yeah, I really do. I know some people think the whole faction thing's been done to death, but
I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I still enjoy the Hill factions, and it's just classic to me. But anyhow, Crimson says that Jason Wayne and Joe Coleman are in meetings with the board of directors because of what Hayes did at Saturday Night Special. And, Hayes, replies he's got some matches for the Coalition tonight. The Gilly Man will have to face Rob Terry, and Raul and Shiloh will be in a Four Corners tag team match. He doesn't say against who. And Crimson will have to face Sam Shaw. So we'll get that on down the line in the show here. Then we go to a ladies tag team match. Nikki St. John with the lovely Lila versus Hannah and Holly, the Blossom Twins. Nice to see the Blossom Twins back in OVW. Not a whole lot here. The Blossoms are pretty good. Lila's okay, but man, this Nikki St. John, I guess she's just really green, but she was
insane.
She was horrible. She was just awful. And, like I said, it could just be that she's green. I'm not bad mouthing her. I'm sure she'll improve, but
could be just nerves, man.
It could be, but it was one of those things like she would like run to do something and like stop and like wait. For the spot, and you could just tell she was not in sync there. But anyhow, the Blossoms get the win here with the Twin Spires. Nice finisher that they got there. Then we see Tony Gunn talking with Randy Royal backstage. Spud comes up and gets in Gunn's face, because Gunn kind of tripped him up and helped Randy win the TV title there at the Saturday Night Special. So Spud's pretty pissed off, and he says he's got a rematch coming there. Then we get a TV title match. Jesse Goddard's challenging Randy Royal. Decent match. Randy, he might not have the physique that Jesse Goddard's does, but Randy is a far better wrestler than Jesse Goddard's. It's a decent match, and Randy gets the win by pinfall. Then we see just about all of the ladies of OVW backstage gabbing up with each other in the ladies' locker room. And, of course, they weren't, naked or anything, but anyhow. Heidi Lovelace walks in, and it's funny because as soon as she walks in, like, everybody just kind of gets real quiet. And Heidi asks if they've seen Taylor. Nikki, the one I was just saying is horrible, she stands up and says, you make me sick. You don't belong in this locker room. Epiphany and Trina, though, they're both a little bit nicer to her. They kind of go up to her and say, hey, we're kind of proud of what you did. It takes a lot of courage and all that stuff. Then she leaves and says she has to find Taylor, and they all just start gabbing again. Then we get the Gilly Man versus Rob Terry squash.
I saw that.
Yeah. And I still don't know who the Gilly Man is. Like I said, I feel like I should know. I'm going to have to ask somebody who does know and find out.
Do you think he even knew who he was after that squash?
Probably not. It was pretty quick and brutal. Then announcer Terry Bodie is in the ring to announce that this Saturday, May 25th in E-Town, the Mobile Homers will be taking on 2 Coalition members in a cage match. That should be
exciting.
It really should be, because the Homers, they're good, man. They're real good, and I'd say it's probably going to end up being Shiloh Jones and Raul Lamada that they take on, and that Shiloh's a good worker. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be at that, so I'll let y'all know how it is. And then once again, Jay Bradley comes in and he starts beating up poor Terry Bodie, and then he gets on the mic and once again proclaims himself the top contender. We get a 4 corners tag team match next, and it's kind of funny because you can tell here that Michael Hayes once again has set up the Coalition. It's the Mobile Homers supposedly versus Rudy Switchblade and Eddie Diamond versus Rockstar Spud and Ryan Howe versus Raul and Shiloh of the Coalition. Now, if you look at those 6 names, those are all guys that have been jumped by the Coalition. So it really just turns into 6-on-2, and so another checkmate there by Michael Hayes.
Smart.
Yeah, real smart. Raul and Shiloh try to leave, but the Mobile Homers block their way out, and the other, they just proceed to do a number on the 2 members of the Coalition there, and Rudy pins Raul for the win, and then they all 6 celebrate in the ring together. Then backstage once again, you see Jamin Olivencia, the current OVW champion. He's looking for Michael Hayes, and he finds Michael Hayes, and he says he wants to take care of Jay Bradley. Jay Bradley's talking smack about him, and Hayes kind of calms him down and says he'll take care of it. And Jamin says, whatever, boss, basically. Then we get the Crimson versus Sam Shaw match. A good match here. I like this Sam Shaw kid. I don't care for his image so much. It's a little bit John Cena.
That could be adjusted.
Yeah, a little bit. Do you remember PG-13? Mm-hmm. It reminds me a little bit of them. But I tell you what, he's good in the ring, man. He's got some good moves in the ring. I like watching him wrestle. The Coalition tries to interfere, but out comes the OVW guys again to keep them at bay. Crimson does get in a cheap shot with the flag, but Shaw still manages to roll him up for the pin. So Sam Shaw gets the victory there. It's a good night for OVW there. And then Jay Bradley is out to the ring again, and he says he's going to motivate Jamin to come out. So he grabs Dean Hill, the play-by-play guy, and everybody in the OVW arena, or Davis Arena, everybody loves Dean Hill. Dean Hill's kind of revered, and he's kind of an elder statesman of OVW, and he drags Dean into the ring, and you just don't put your hands on Dean Hill. You just don't. So out comes Jamin for the save, and then Michael Hayes comes out and says, he's in charge, and Bradley's not going to strong-arm him like this. into making him the top contender. Then out comes the Coalition. And Crimson gets on the mic and says the Gilly Man has become another casualty of war. So I guess he's hurting after the squash by Rob Terry there. Then, Hayes says he's the boss and tells the Coalition to leave. Crimson says Wayne and Coleman have reported from their meeting with the board of directors, and Hayes is no longer in position to give orders. And then out comes owner Danny Davis.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He gets on the mic and says he doesn't know what the Coalition has on the board of directors here. They must be in the Coalition's pocket or something. And he hates to say it, but he has some sad news. And even though he disagrees with it, they've sent him here to tell Michael Hayes that he is fired as director of operations. Yeah, so kind of another
head scratcher.
Yeah, the plot thickens there with OVW and the Coalition, but that's OVW for this week. Remember, they do their TV tapings every Wednesday at the Davis Arena, 4400 Shepherdsville Road. $5 to get in. 7 o'clock bell time, I believe. Doors open around 6:30. Fun night out. And you can also catch them Saturdays at noon on the Ion Network, WBNA 21, or online at ovwrestling.com. And now we're going to go to Ring of Honor.
The best.
Ring of Honor.
Alright, Ring of Honor this week from Toronto, Canada. We get a recap of Border Wars. Then Steve Corino comes out to the ring and says the end is near for Ring of Honor. The era of scum has begun. And he says because of what happened at Border Wars, part of the stipulation was that if Scum won, he is now the color commentator, replacing Nigel McGuinness. And, of course, Nigel's still the GM there, but...
just non-commentary.
Yeah, Carino's on color with Kevin Kelly now. And he's, as a result, also one of his men will get a shot at the ROH title. I'm saying that's probably going to be Matt Hardy. And he says, that his guy will be the next and last Ring of Honor champion. Jay Lethal comes out. And he says that letting Steen replace him in that match at Border Wars was a mistake. He says they still don't know where Steen's loyalty lies. Then says it's him against Jacobs tonight, Jimmy Jacobs. And the match starts right away. So we got Jay Lethal against Jimmy Jacobs. Lethal's still favoring that left knee that got hurt at Border Wars. And during the match here, I kind of got excited about this. They announced that Taji Ishimori will be taking on Roderick Strong on next week's show.
That should be good.
Yeah, that should be a really good match.
Yeah.
And then Jacobs, of course, he goes after the knee. And actually a pretty good match going here. Lethal goes for the lethal injection, but the knee buckles on him. Jacobs gets the win there by pin. Then Nigel McGuinness is out to make an announcement. And he says that he was impressed with Adam Cole's performance against Jay Briscoe at Border Wars and that he will get a rematch down the road. But first there's some other guys in line, namely Michael Elgin. And when the place goes nuts for Elgin when he says Elgin's name. Elgin's just over like crazy right now. And
we love Elgin too.
For good reason. He deserves it. And he's got a thing going on right. He's still trying to avenge a loss to Machine Gun Anderson. And also in line are both American Wolves. Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards both are in line. Out comes Jay Briscoe, and he says nobody in this company can beat him, and starts talking about how he can whoop everybody's ass. Out comes Mark Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe gets on the mic and is like, look, man, ever since you won this belt, all I hear you talking about all the time is how you can whoop everybody's ass. You know, we were raised humble, man. This is, you know, this isn't you. This isn't how we were brought up. And I remember my first match in Ring of Honor was against you, and I whooped your ass. So
Kind of saw this coming.
yeah, you called it a couple weeks ago. So the Ace saw that one coming from a mile away.
Plant the seed.
Yeah.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, so basically Jay, you know, looks at Nigel's like, hey, you heard the man, you know, he says he can whip my ass, make it happen. We'll fight for the belt at the next pay-per-view, which is going to be Best in the World, about a month away. Nigel says he has to think about it. What there is to think about, I'm not sure, but anyhow, it looks like we're going to have Briscoe versus Briscoe at Best in the World. That should be...
I'm excited about
Yeah.
that if it does occur.
And then we get a match between Cliff Compton and Rhett Titus as a tag team versus the CNC Wrestling Factory, Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander. And Caprice is also nursing an injury to his shoulder there. And as a matter of fact, during the match, he gets rammed into the post by Compton, and it kind of takes him out of the match, and it's looking like they're going to cart him to the back. He's got trainers trying to get him to the back. Cedric is doing okay on his own as the officials try to get Caprice to go backstage, but then he like shoves him away and makes his way back to the ring just in time to get the hot tag from Cedric there, who was starting to wear down, and he comes in and gets some good offense in, but then Rhett gets the pin on him, and Scum gets the win there. So then we're on to the main event, which is Adam Cole versus Kevin Steen. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, good match. And man, Steen, you know that power bomb he does onto the apron.
Yeah.
He gave Adam Cole 3 of those.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 3 of them. I mean,
I bet that crowd was.
oh yeah, yeah, because he did the first one, then went over to another side of the ring, did the second one, then the people on the other side like over here, over here. So he goes over, does the third time, and you should have seen Adam Cole's back. It was just brutal. And they keep teasing a heel turn here by Adam Cole. You know, ever since Jay Briscoe won the title, really, they've kind of been teasing a heel turn here by Adam Cole.
Yeah.
And it progressed even more this week. Cliff Compton comes out and gets on the apron, but Steen knocks him down. He gets Cole in the sharpshooter. Then Compton jumps back up on the apron, distracts the ref. In comes Jimmy Jacobs. He hits Steen with a chain. Then Cole kicks Steen in the back of the head. Then nails him with the Florida key and gets the pin. And then after, and Cole knew exactly what happened. It's not like he was unaware. And then after the match, you see Cole standing there kind of grinning like, ha ha, yeah. So if they're not going to turn Adam Cole heel, they're sure trying to make it seem like they're going to. But that's it for this week's episode of Ring of Honor. And next we are going to be moving on to SmackDown.
SmackDown.
Alright, SmackDown this week, we have recaps, of course. Then we get Miz TV. Haven't seen Miz TV in a while. His guests are Orton and Big Show. Yeah.
Pointless?
Yeah, pointless banter by both guys here. Out comes Swagger. Coulter talking about Swagger Del Rio. Swagger gets in the ring. Out comes Ricardo and Del Rio. More shit talking. Then out comes Mark Henry and talking about pulling semis. And then out comes Sheamus. Let's just get everybody out here.
That sounds like the stupidest segment I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it pretty much was.
Oh gosh, Teddy Long.
Yeah, then out comes Teddy Long, and what do you know? The main event's going to be Big Show, Mark Henry, and Swagger versus Del Rio, Sheamus, and Orton. Ooh, shocker. Yeah. Then we get the Shield, Rollins and Reigns versus the Usos. The introductions aren't even complete before JBL starts talking about the Yard again.
Your favorite.
Yeah, it's like,
The Yard.
Give it a rest, dude. Good Lord. Reigns wins it with the spear. Then the Shield beat on the Usos even more after the match. Kofi attempts to save but gets owned. Then he comes back in with a chair and the Shield retreats. We see Teddy and Miz backstage. Sandow comes up and throws some insults at Miz. He says there should be a Damien Sandow show. Then Teddy makes a match between Miz and Sandow.
Good God.
Yeah, it's. I mean, do they have a 10-year-old writing this stuff? I don't know, man. Then we take a look back at Superman versus the Shield last Raw.
Let's not even say his name anymore. Let's just go
Yeah,
from Superman.
he's Superman from now on.
Yeah.
And then you see Ryback taking him out with the chair there to his ankle. Tons of Funk is out. They're taking on the Primetime Players, a rematch from last week's Raw. Just an okay match. Tons of Funk gets the win. Then we get Jericho Cesaro, which, good match, but, I mean...
meant nothing.
Yeah, and, there again, both these guys, I think, could do better. Not the best out of these two. Jericho gets the win by submission. Big shocker. Then Fandango is out with Summer Rae and...
Summer Rae.
Yeah, the blonde dancer.
She's growing on me quite a bit, though.
Yeah, she's alright. I still like the first girl better.
I'll take either one. Go ahead.
More recaps. I don't know.
It just seems like what's really happening, what's already happening.
Yeah.
This is edited and already recorded. It's not even live. It just becomes like a mishmash of recaps, and
Yeah.
that's just same old shit. Does anything of substance happen the rest of the show? 'Cause I'm starting to doze off here a little bit.
We get Damien Sandow versus The Miz. Cody's on commentary.
Once again, they're a team one week, then a team not the next week.
Yeah, at least Cody was out there this time.
Yeah.
But Sandow taps to The Miz, which
Yeah.
I mean, man, Sandow's got so much potential, and they're just wasting him.
He's in the Cesaro and Barrett Club.
Yeah, he really is.
And the Rhodes Club.
Rhodes, it seems like they're starting to give him a little bit more, but then we get Oksana versus Caitlyn. Caitlyn wins. Another recap of Lesnar Triple H. I mean, then we get
The big six-man
the
tag match.
6-man Del Rio, Sheamus, Orton versus Swagger, Henry, and Show.
Your usual SmackDown main event.
Yeah,
Nothing substance
the
here.
good guys win by pinfall here after Orton hits power slam there, but
Just your usual SmackDown.
yeah, the winner's celebrating the ring as Raw goes off the air, and we're doing things in a little bit different order this week.
We're trying something new.
If you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But now we're going to go on to Impact.
Impact.
All right, TNA Impact from Tupelo, Mississippi. And it's looking like, I guess what they're doing with TNA here, they're...
One-horse towns.
Well, because that's why they're coming to Louisville.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're doing one live and one taping, like at the same event. Mm-hmm. So you buy a ticket to Impact, which we're going to Impact in July. It looks like we're going to actually get 2 Impacts. Mm-hmm. So you get one live from Louisville, and the next week recorded from Louisville.
Gotcha.
Because they're in the same place 2 weeks in a row every week, every other week, I've noticed. But anyhow, we get some recaps from last week. Hogan comes out, and the crowd is hot for Hogan.
They probably paid extra to be hot.
Could be, but there again, they're not in the Impact zone anymore, so they're out on the road.
Yeah, get a little bit of everything out on the road.
Yeah. Hogan talks about Styles, and basically says he doesn't care anymore if if AJ joins the Aces and Eights. He says AJ will have to face Angle at Slammiversary. That should be a good match.
Yeah, should be.
Because Angle's getting up there and getting a little bit worn out. As far he's probably got tons of nagging injuries, but he can still go.
Oh yeah.
And there will be a contract signing tonight for the Bully Ray and Sting
I'm
match.
not too excited about that match. Are you?
I wish I could be. And they might surprise us and put on a decent show. I mean, Sting is still okay, but, he's in the twilight of his career. It's about time for Sting to retire. Yeah. And I like Sting, but he doesn't... He doesn't need to be in the title picture.
No.
He doesn't need to be...
He needs to be the guy putting the guys in the spot to
right
for the title picture, which that's a whole other story.
But Sting's not the one doing the booking, so I can't really blame him too much. And then Hogan asks Abyss to come out so he can shake his hand and thank him. Out comes Joseph Park instead. Park says he was shocked last week when he saw his brother return. Then Devon comes down, and they say they want Abyss out of here. Park and Devon bicker back and forth, and Park says they're really starting to piss him off, and he challenges Devon to a match. And I forgot to mention, D'Lo came out with Devon. And Devon says that Park has to prove himself first, and that he'll have to face D'Lo instead. If Park wins, he'll get a shot at Devon. And it seems to me like they're kind of starting to play the Joseph, they're not trying to... I think they're trying to evolve it into where you're in the know that Joseph Park is Abyss. Mm-hmm. He has a split personality disorder. Mm-hmm. I think that's the route they're about to go with this. So we'll see, but that's the feeling I'm getting. They're not trying to convince you anymore that Joseph Park and Chris Park are 2 different people.
Right.
Anyhow, because Joseph Park's starting to act like crazy when he gets mad and everything. Someone tries to get Storm to comment on what happened last week, and I say someone because they have this guy you just see a camera. You don't see a guy with a microphone. Okay, it's so and so backstage. You just see the camera shot and hear a voice talking. So they have this unknown, invisible interviewer backstage in TNA, anyhow, they're trying to get a comment out of Storm about what happened last week, and he says, just watch, basically. We see a spot for the Bound for Glory series with Christian York. Christian York, been around for a long time. And
ECW guy, remember, at the last few days of ECW, wasn't it? With Mercury, Joey Mercury,
yeah,
somebody else.
He was a tag team with Joey Matthews.
Joey Matthews.
Well, he was Joey Mercury in WWE
right,
when it was Eminem.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what his name was in ECW, but
yeah. He was tag team partner of Joey Matthews for quite a while.
So he's a vet.
Yeah, he's been wrestling for 15, 16 years, maybe even a little bit longer. He's
that we know of.
Yeah, he's been around. And it seems, like they're trying to give him a spot. Then we get Bobby Roode. And but before we go on to that, what do you think about this whole Bound for Glory / gut check thing? I think we discussed a little bit before. I like the fact that they're trying to get some guys some exposure, some guys that have been around and done the grind in the indies and new guys coming up, trying to get some new blood in the mix and everything. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like the concept. It just seems like they never get there, though.
Yeah.
They never allow them to get there.
Right, like even the ones that they've given a contract to through the gut check, it's like you never see them again.
Yeah.
Unless you see them on OVW.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. Then we get Bobby Roode versus Chavo Guerrero.
Good match.
Yeah, good match. They had a good match going, but it didn't go on for too long before out comes James Storm. He spits beer in Bobby Roode's eyes, causing a DQ. Which, but that was that. Then we get a recap of the whole AJ Styles thing. Angle comes out to the ring and talks about AJ Styles and says he doesn't want to wait till Slammiversary. He'll take him on tonight. Out comes Ken Anderson of the Aces and Eights. He tells Angle that he sounds like a woman and that next week the Aces and Eights will be patching in AJ Styles. I guess that's initiating him into the group. And dares Angle to show up. Angle says he doesn't want to wait again. Angle goes after Anderson. AJ comes in and kicks Angle in the head, but I'm telling you, he's not going to join the Aces and Eights. AJ Styles is not going to join. They're trying to make you think he's going to, but he's not. I would, if I was a betting man, I'd put money on it. He will not join the Aces and Eights next week. He's going to do the Dark Loner thing like Sting did. He's going to keep going that route. It wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't end up being AJ who takes the belt off of Bully.
At some point.
Yeah. Then we see OVW's own Jay Bradley talking about getting his opportunity. As a matter of fact, he won a gut check contract a while back. And he actually plugs OVW, talks about honing his skills down in OVW. And then we get Jay Bradley versus Christian York. Pretty good match here. And honestly, I really thought that York was going to go over because, like I said, it seems like they've been kind of trying to push him out there. But Bradley gets the win with the boomstick. So after the match, he says he's one step closer to being TNA World Champion. He's not lacking confidence. Then James Storm is out. Coming out of Hogan's office, and we see the invisible interviewer again, and he asks Storm what was said in the meeting, and he basically he does a pretty good Hogan impersonation. He's like, said, "Well, brother, your actions have repercussions, and brother. He's basically like, "What, these guys can just jump me, and that's okay, but I get a little bit of revenge, and it's not okay."
Yeah.
So then we see the Aces and Eights in the back saying they can't wait to patch in Styles next week. Anderson says, speaking of which, and he looks at D'Lo, He says, you gotta prove yourself tonight, basically, and you know what you gotta do. And D'Lo says, yeah, I gotta kick Joseph Parks' ass. Then we see Brooke Hogan talking to Mickey, and she tells Mickey that she'll get another shot at Velvet's title. Of course, they're also plugging Mickey's album. Brooke's saying how great her new album, like she's even listened to it, right? Yeah. I bet Mickey's new album is about as great as Brooke's new album. Anyhow,
I listened to them both.
Oh yeah, I have my copies reserved.
What happens next?
I'm still saying, okay, I told you that I kind of got heel turn vibe off of Mickey in the last go around with Velvet.
Yeah.
And even though they tagged together last week and everything seemed hunky-dory, I think in this next match she's going to turn heel. She's going to go after the knee. She's going to take the belt. This is going to be her heel turn. I just got a feeling. Anyhow, Mickey walks off, and then Bully Ray comes up, and he gets in Brooke's face and tells her to tell Dad that it won't be so much a contract signing tonight as it's going to be a negotiation. She tells him she wants to negotiate a divorce, which I'm still not buying. I think she's a bad girl. And he says he'll never divorce her till death do us part. And then she walks off, and as she's walking off, he's kind of like checking out her ass and smiling. Then we get Velvet Sky versus Gail Kim in a non-title match. Not a terrible match, not a good match. Of course, Gail goes after the injured knee, and Gail works it over pretty good for several minutes. But once again, Velvet kind of pulls out a quick victory with a schoolboy, and then Gail jumps her after the match and does the leg lock around the post and everything again. Then we see Sabin, Kenny King, and Petey Williams all talking smack. We get a video hyping the return of Suicide next week. And then we have Chris Sabin versus Petey Williams versus Kenny King for the X Division title. Really good match here. Nice performance by all three of these guys. King pins Petey after hitting the Royal Flush. So Petey's got to go back to the back of the line again. Then we see Bad Influence backstage talking about James Storm while Daniels sips on a martini that Kaz made for him.
I love those guys.
They are funny, man. I like Christopher Daniels in this. Like, it seems like his personality has come out in this role or something. Like, this must be like close to the real him or something, because he was always a great in-ring performer.
Yeah,
but it just always seemed to lack a little bit of something as far as mic skills or charisma or something.
It seems like the best personalities in wrestling were always extensions of their real selves anyway.
Yeah. Kind of just themselves amped up a little bit. Was it Stone Cold who said that?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically, Stone Cold is me just, turned up a few notches. And that's why it's successful.
Yeah.
So then we go to D'Lo talking to Ken Anderson backstage, and he's basically thanking him for saving his ass last week and not letting him bash his head in with a hammer. Anderson says, he did that for the club, and Anderson says D'Lo shouldn't have stepped over, Bischoff and Briscoe like that, two young guys trying to make their mark. And D'Lo says he knows he messed up bad and he's going to make it right. And then Anderson says, hey, I'm pulling for you, man. Then we get Christopher Daniels versus Hernandez. Another good match. Daniels keeps getting a little bit of help from Kazarian there. Then out comes James Storm. Daniels gets distracted which allows Hernandez to get the win. Storm gets on the mic and does his Hogan impression again. He says Hogan sent him out to make an announcement, and it's Slammiversary. Chavo and Hernandez will defend against Rude and Aries, and Daniels and Kazarian, and Storm and the mystery partner.
With it online,
Yeah.
Seems like that's going to be a really good match.
Should be. Of course, I know Storm is legit hurt right now. And I'm just hoping he'll be okay in time to actually take part in that match.
Yeah.
I think he's got a pulled groin and something else.
It's right around the corner, too.
Yeah, it's only a little over a week away. But yeah, I'm hoping he'll be okay for that match. And I'm wondering, is he going to bring Chris Harris back in? Maybe an AMW reunion?
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. If Chris Harris has maybe got himself back into shape.
Yeah.
Even if he hasn't, it'd still be kind of cool to see America's Most Wanted back together.
Yeah.
Then we get the D'Lo Brown versus Joseph Park match. It was kind of sluggish.
Neither one of these guys are great in-ring.
Yeah, they're not speedsters, that's for sure. D'Lo busts Park open, and then Park goes psycho at the sight of his own blood. More evidence to the whole kind of split personality crazy guy thing going on here. And Park uses the black hole slam to get the win. Then we get the Sting Bully Ray contract signing. Bully's out first. He knocks the announcer out of the ring, gets on the mic, and starts bragging about what a badass he is. Blah, 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 blah.
I heard it all before.
I'm from Hell's Kitchen. I'm the baddest thing walking, whatever. And then Sting comes out. Bully calls Hogan out. And he says that this is the first time he's been face-to-face with Sting since he screwed him over. And, Sting probably wants an apology, but he's not going to get one. Sting says he doesn't care about an apology, and then cuts a pretty good promo. One of the better promos I've seen from Sting in a while. And he says he wants a no-holds-barred match. No-holds-barred match, sorry. At the upcoming pay-per-view. And Bully says he'll give him the no-holds-barred match, but if Sting loses, he never gets another shot at the title, ever, for the rest of his career. Hogan tries to talk Sting out of it, but Sting agrees to the stipulation, and him and Bully start duking it out as Impact goes off the air. So that's Impact. And now we're going to go to special coverage from our on-site reporter, the man who was there.
I was.
Extreme Rules from
St. Louis.
St. Louis. I was about to say Kansas City, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. My bad.
Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, Missouri. All right, the first match we have here is Chris Jericho in his rematch against Fandango from WrestleMania. A very good opening match. The crowd was really into Jericho. A lot of good back and forth action. Jericho gets the win with a co-breaker when Fandango goes for a move off the top rope. He hits it in midair. 1, 2, 3 for the win. Good opener. Gets the crowd going. Nice opening match. Then we have one of the matches I was most excited for was the Dean Ambrose versus Kofi Kingston for the U.S. title.
How was that?
It was a good match. I feel like it could have got 2 or 3, 4 more minutes, something like that. But overall, Kofi goes for the big, I think it was an enziguri. Ambrose ducks out of the way. Kofi kind of bounces off the ropes, and then Dean Ambrose hits like kind of a reverse DDT for the 1, 2, 3, gets the win.
Yeah, they finally gave that move a name on Raw, and I can't remember what they called it. But it was a basic name, like basically just describing the move. So maybe it wasn't the official name for it,
right?
But the technical name for it. Anyhow,
so it was a good match. Shield comes out to celebrate with Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Ambrose take it there because I'm not a Kofi hater, but I'm not a Kofi fan. I don't
It had to go to Dean Ambrose.
It really did.
And we've been talking about Dean Ambrose. And
absolutely. And the Shield, I still think, needs to keep that kind of dominant streak going.
Because it was getting to the point to where either you win the titles, there's a leader, or what the hell are we doing here? You know what I mean? Because it was. I mean, this is several months now since Survivor Series that they've kind of been.
Yeah.
They've been winning, but okay, So this was a good step in the right direction.
Absolutely, I agree.
Then we get Mark Henry and Sheamus in a strap match, which this match, I mean, for what it was, it didn't get much time. I mean, there was a couple cool spots, a lot of power moves involved, but really a little too gimmicky for me. With the red and green lights on each turnbuckle, it's like we know.
Oh, they actually had him light up.
Yeah, it's like we know if he hits that turnbuckle, he's going to the next. And they didn't really use the strap that much, and the crowd was kind of like, and
good time to go get a beer.
yeah, $9 a pop. But Sheamus does get the win. He's got 3 of the turnbuckles tagged, and you think Mark Henry's going to stop him from getting the 4th, and Sheamus hops off his shoulder, hits the bro kick, and then bam, hits the 4th turnbuckle to get the win. Crowd's hot for Sheamus. I don't give a shit. Then we get this match, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger, I Quit match for the #1 contenders match. Seemed like 30 seconds, it seemed like every move, the ref would ask, do you quit, do you quit, do you quit?
You want to quit? You want to quit?
And it's just like, okay, I know there's 8 matches on the card, but you don't have to make it obvious that this is rushed,
Yeah, I mean...
What happened to the suspense of 10, 15, 20 minutes, of like...
Well, I mean, you should only be asking him if he wants to quit in a submission situation, or if he's just been beat half to death.
Yeah.
I mean,
they would get a clothesline, and then Kyoto, whoever it was, like, you quit, do you quit, do you quit?
Yeah.
I mean, what? I don't know. It kind of fell flat anyway, because we knew that it wasn't going to be the Ziggler triple threat World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, that's kind of a letdown right off the bat there. I've never really, I like, submission style matches and everything, but the whole I Quit thing, it just, like you said, kind of hokey a little bit, and
it works in the right situations. If you got 2 guys in a hot, just brutal feud with, like, Tully Blanchard, Magnum TA, in the cage, Starrcade 85, you knew it had to come to something that all be all. Rock and Mankind, you knew it was going to come to something. And even with Randy Orton and Superman a few years ago, I mean, those two, legitimately, well, not legitimately, but they hated each other, so, it was kind of cool to see that in a new era.
Yeah.
But this just kind of, the crowd wasn't into it, it just kind of, I don't know. And then they had some kind of weird, I think it was Ricardo, or I think Zeb grabbed the towel out of the bucket and threw it in to make it look like Del Rio said he quit, but he didn't, so they had to restart it again, and it's just like, I'm getting kind of bored with these two. I'm sorry, but I am.
Well, you've seen them wrestle each other, or some combination of those two and Ziggler for the last
several weeks,
couple of months,
months.
On
Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of run its course.
But I was enjoying it. I was there. It was fun. But
well, sure, yeah, that makes a lot of difference.
And here pretty soon is when my voice starts to go. Now, I'm more excited about Ambrose winning the U.S. title. Then we get Hell No versus Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in a Texas Tornado match for the tag team titles. And this was a really, really, really good match.
I expected it would be.
Yeah, it's a lot of high spots. I think it was Rollins hit the big knee off onto Daniel Bryan while Reigns is holding him up in the corner of the ring. Kane even had a hell of a choke slam. I can't remember if it was on Rollins or Reigns, but it just rocked the whole place. And Reigns and Rollins pick up the tag titles here in a pretty good match, pretty solid match. I think it could have gone a little bit longer, but we knew we had some big matches coming up, but it was pretty good. So now you got the Shield with the U.S. title and the tag titles. And then Dean Ambrose comes out to celebrate with those two, just like they had come out to celebrate with him. So.
Well, and in Hell No, that they had a good long run with the belts. So.
The next we get Randy Orton versus Big Show. And I must say, from the outside looking in, just not because I'm an Orton fan, but this was a really good hard-hit match. You had chairs, you had ladders, you had RKO, chokeslam, RKO on a chair, back and forth. And Randy Orton did something that he hasn't done in a while, and that was a punt to the Big Show's head for the 1-2-3 win. And this crowd in his hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. This is when my voice started going as I was clapping and cheering away for Orton, in and out, entrance and exit. And I know that he loves Randy Orton too. Good match though. This is when I really started getting pumped in adult beverages. Then we have Superman versus Ryback, and I must say again, I like Ryback, but not the best in-ring wrestler, but I must say...
Nobody's not the worst either.
This was his best performance to date, and I was very impressed when he kicked out, or not kicked out, because it was a last man standing match for the title. He got up before the 10 count after receiving an FU through the table from Cena, which is pretty impressive. And these guys were taking it to each other. This was a physically intense match. Cena, I think he speared Ryback through the barricade. They went outside in the crowd. They were fighting in the crowd. They were all over the place. I mean, near 10 counts. But the big spot, my favorite part, this is when I about jumped 3 rows, is when Ryback took the Superman through the back wall with all the lighting in high row and smashed him into it, and everything exploded, which was great.
I just hate the fact that the ending was a no contest, man.
Yeah. He should have started counting.
I mean, it's better than Cena winning, but it's just, to me, that's just, especially at a pay-per-view, man. Yeah. You shouldn't do that. I mean, you should have a definite winner at a pay-per-view. I'm sorry.
That's Superman.
I know, and it's a way for both of them to not lose. So Cena's still Superman, but
Ryback, he gained a lot of credibility from this performance. It was a very dominating performance, and my voice is about gone after Cena sucks and same old shit chants for about 20-25 minutes. Everybody was behind me too. Then we have Brock Lesnar versus Triple H in the long-awaited steel cage match. And what was cool about this was Brock Lesnar hadn't even got to the ring yet. Triple H jumps in from behind, throws him in the cage. They wrestle around the cage for a little bit before they get in. The match officially starts. But this match, and I rewatched the WrestleMania match. This match was close, but I actually prefer the WrestleMania match to this.
My question is, was there blood?
No. Which I kind of thought maybe
there needs to be blood, man.
Yeah. It was good though. I mean, Triple H gets the pedigree on Heyman when Heyman comes in. Then when Triple H goes for the sledgehammer shot on Lesnar, Heyman low blows Triple H. I mean, there was a lot of close falls there.
Yeah.
Lesnar hits Triple H with the F5. Triple H kicks out. Then it came down to pretty much Lesnar clocks Triple H with the sledgehammer, and then F5s him again, and it's like, that's it.
And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not like a blood and guts kind of guy. I mean, I don't mind a good hardcore kind of match once in a while, but I'm more of a purist. You know this. But to me, with a feud that's hot, 2 guys that just absolutely hate each other's guts in a cage, you gotta have some bleeding, man.
You could feel the intensity, but there was no blood. You know.
Yeah.
But it was an alright match. I gave the pay-per-view out of 4 stars overall. I gave it 3. The best pay-per-view I'd seen since Extreme Rules last year, and I thought about it very thoroughly. So overall, it was a very good show.
Well, cool, man. I'm glad you got to go, and I'm glad y'all had a good time there. I thought about going, but 5 hours in the car is just too much for me these days, man. If it's more than an hour away, I don't want to go.
I feel you. Especially when you have to drive the whole time.
Yeah.
Then we go to Raw. This is in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right. That's probably why I stumbled and said Kansas City. So now we're going to go to Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Raw.
Alright, Monday Night Raw from Kansas City, Missouri. Take it away, Ace.
We got an ambulance coming in. And then who's driving the ambulance? It's none other than Ryback himself, who gets out of the back, cuts a promo on top of the ambulance, challenges John Cena to an ambulance match at Payback. And he says this time, it doesn't matter if you can stand or not. It doesn't matter if you can breathe or if you have a pulse. All you got to do is be thrown in the back of an ambulance. Which, I like this segment.
It was okay. I guess a good build. I liked how he really ripped into the fans here, man.
Oh, he said, he called him send Cena to the morgue, and all the fans were going to the morgue with him.
He called him fat, pathetic, and weak. And that's just classic heel stuff there, man. I
think he's doing a good job.
It's growing on me, I have to say.
Yeah.
It really is. And then we get the teaser from Heyman, or that Heyman will introduce his newest client tonight. And when they first said this, did you have any, like, guesses? Like, did you have, oh, well, I think it might be this guy.
2. Rob Van Dam was 1, and Batista was the other.
Batista?
Yeah.
See, neither one of those guys ever crossed my mind at all. I don't know why, because it doesn't really make too much sense. But for some reason, Ziggler crossed my mind. I guess just because he's the world champion, and that would be like Heyman to just kind of snag somebody who's already the champ. And I thought either that or it was going to be somebody we haven't seen in a while. But I didn't think it was going to be the person. Even though we hadn't seen this person in a while, it's not who I thought. It wasn't the kind of person I had in mind. I was thinking maybe more of like another more similar to Lesnar, more of a monster kind of guy, like maybe Mason Ryan or somebody like that coming back up. But we'll get to that later.
Then we have Jericho and Miz versus Fandango and Barrett in a tag team match, and I thought this was hilarious because halfway through the match, Fandango just starts dancing with Summer Rae while the match is going on, while Barrett gets pissed.
It was funny. I hated to see Barrett, take the fall again there, and once again by submission. But it was, just out of nowhere. It's Fandango, and just starts dancing like, screw the match, I'm dancing. That was kind of funny.
It's kind of a throwaway match. Did you like it though when Jericho enticed Summer Rae into dancing with him, and then he tried to act like he was going to lure in for a kiss, and then he just
totally dissed her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for what you did to me last week, bitch. Then we get everybody's favorite, Vicky is out with her lovely voice. But I have to say for Vicky, she's supposed to be annoying, and she's very good at it. And she says Jack Swagger will compete against either Khali, R-Truth, or Superman 2, Randy Orton.
Wonder who that's going to be.
Yeah, I wonder who the fans are going to pick for that one. Do you really buy that they go by what the fans vote anyway? I don't.
It's a work too.
It's just,
and if it's not the answer, the result they want, they make it the answer.
Right. Then we see Daniel Bryan and Kane backstage. They at first, Kane's kind of like trying to console him. Then they start arguing, and Kofi comes in to break it up. And then what we got next there, Ace?
Then we get Sheamus versus Titus O'Neil in a one-on-one match, and actually it started off a little rough around the edges, but it shaped up to be a pretty decent match. Good showing by Titus O'Neil.
He hung in there longer than I thought he was going to be honest. I figured Sheamus just come out, broke kick him, and it'd be it.
He did well with the broke kick, but it wasn't as quick as we thought it would.
Right, yeah, Sheamus gets the win, but yeah, Titus hung in there and pretty decent showing. Then Heyman is out for the big announcement, but of course first he has to brag about Lesnar beating Triple H at Extreme Rules, and the new client is
Curtis Axel,
which is Joe Henning, aka Michael McGillicuddy
of the new Nexus.
Kurt
Henning's son, and
which I like this pairing. I think it's great that they're putting Henning in that position, and he he came out to a modified version of Mr. Perfect's music, and I like the pairing, but I hate the name.
Let's call him Joe Henning.
Yeah, just call him Joe Henning.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they even talk about him being the son of Kurt and the grandson of the Axe Larry Henning, which is where they came up with Curtis Axel. But, I mean, it's kind of like we were talking before the show, you know, when these guys say, well, I'm using a different name because I don't want to make it on my dad's name. I want to, you know, blaze my own path.
You're already on your dad's name.
You're already on your dad's name. You're using his music, for Christ's sake. Everybody knows you're Joe Henning. Just be Joe Henning. You're not fooling anybody by calling yourself Curtis Axel. And I don't like the name, but I think Axel Curtis would roll off the tongue better.
Yeah.
If you're going to use those two names, I think Axel Curtis sounds better.
What about just Axel?
Yeah, but I mean, just be Joe Henning.
Yeah. But Heyman, if anybody can make him a star, it's Heyman.
Yeah. If this doesn't get him over, nothing will.
Yeah. And he's not really too young. He's in his 30s.
Yeah, the clock's starting to kind of tick there, whether it's going to happen for him or not.
Yeah.
I think he's got all the tools. He probably likes a little bit on the mic, which is why they stuck him with Heyman, so maybe Heyman can get him over that hump.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully shoot him into the stratosphere, man. I'd like to see, I'm rooting for Joe Henning.
Yeah,
I was always a big, you know, Kurt Henning fan.
Me too. Triple H comes out.
Yeah, Triple H comes out.
Pretty much disses Joe Henning.
Yeah.
Pushes him to the side like, oh, you little schoolboy. Step
Right.
out of the way when the adults are talking.
Right.
Which kind of saw that coming a little bit.
Yeah, and then Triple H says he's gonna he'd like to kick, you know, Heyman's ass just because he can, and Henning, you know, gets in his face and say, hey, you got to go through me first, and
Triple H smacks him.
yeah, slaps him, and he falls down like a little bitch, and it's like,
We're not off to a good start.
yeah, not a great start for your push here.
Oh yeah, it's the boss.
Yeah. But it's like, come on, Triple H, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I mean, your days are over, man.
Yeah.
Help some of this new young talent get over, which later on he kind of does a little bit, maybe, I guess. But
Yeah. We'll get to that.
yeah, kind of the same thing with Cena and Ryback. But so they're gonna have a match between those two tonight. Triple H is gonna take on Curtis Axel.
Next we get Del Rio versus Big E. Big E looked good again. He's been looking really good.
I'm telling you, man, he's powerful.
Yeah.
And
how'd you like it when Del Rio had him in that arm breaker and
He just
Big E
lifted
just
him
lifted
up.
him right up,
Yeah.
slams him right down like
and then did it again into the post.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah.
and I was actually even though there was a little bit of a interference there, it wasn't major interference, and even with the interference, I was shocked to see Langston go over here.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the win on Del Rio.
Yeah.
Then we get Caitlyn AJ confrontation from Extreme Rules recap there. Then we get AJ versus Layla.
Slop match.
And
The nice Black Widow submission by AJ.
yeah, I guess.
Layla looks sloppy.
Most of the girls always do look sloppy. I hate to say that, but it's just, they just do. Then Cody Rhodes versus Zack Ryder. What'd you think about this?
Well, I actually forgot Extreme Rules. The pre-show match was Cody Rhodes and The Miz, and Cody Rhodes jobbed out within a few minutes, so that was kind of a throwaway. But Cody Rhodes and Zack Ryder, I mean, I don't know. Then Ryback comes out and pretty much interrupts.
Yeah.
Beats the crap out of Ryder. What, 2 or 3 shell shocks or whatever?
Then he tosses his limp carcass into the ambulance. Yeah. Ryder did get a little bit of offense in during the match, though. You know, Cody gets the win with the disaster kick.
Yeah, Cody did get the win, but it's just, I don't understand what they're doing with Cody either. He's
it's like one week it looks like, like with the Orton match,
Yeah.
looks like they're ready to push him to the moon and then have him job to the Miz.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, Orton does make people look better than they are.
If you say so.
Then we get the Shield sporting their new gold.
Yeah.
Rocking it.
And of course, JBL wastes no time talking about the yard. You
Their
know,
callers. Well, is that what he said? Or the Shield say that those are their callers in their yard.
well, you know, we do get a yard reference eventually out of Reigns too, but I mean, JBL's beating this yard reference to death, man. I mean, jeez. Yeah, Ambrose cuts a promo about, you know, justice, and then Rollins talks about the Shield being the future, and Reigns throws in his own yard reference there, and then out comes Hell No as we get the 6-man tag, Team Hell No with Kofi versus the Shield.
I like this match. I thought it was good. I thought it showcased everybody.
I thought it was way too long and way too boring. I mean, to me, if a match is going to go over like the 10-minute mark,
Yeah.
it better be good. It better be damn good.
I thought it was.
I mean, of course, you know, Daniel Bryan, a highlight as always,
Yeah.
but the rest of them just, I don't know.
Repeated yard references.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why it was so hard for me to maybe it wasn't the match, maybe it was JBL's yard talking constantly. Yard this, yard that, it's their yard. It was Undertaker's yard, but now it's their yard. It's their yard, and you're in their yard. It's their, oh, good Lord, man. Good. I mean, I don't like the reference anyway, but even if it was something that was funny or catchier, he would have done Beat It to Death.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
talk about just beating a dead horse, man.
Then Reigns hits the spear on Kane, gets the win. Shield gets the win.
As they should.
Yeah, so it was fine. Then it was Triple H getting prepped, and then I think some WWE employee came in there and said, Doc says you shouldn't go out tonight.
Yes.
Triple H says, if he likes his job, he better not say anything, or something like that.
Yeah. But then we see Caitlyn and Natalya talking about Secret Admirer again, you know, and she says she finally does have a phone number, but still doesn't know who it is. Cody walks by and they snag his phone to see if it's him. It's not. Does anybody really care who her Secret Admirer is? Then we had Swagger versus Orton. Shocker, Super Randy wins again.
Yes. A good match, though. You have to admit.
I don't have to admit nothing.
It was a good match.
Then moving on because we're running out of time here. No more time for Orton.
Yeah.
Triple H versus
Curtis Axel.
Curtis Axel. Axel actually gets some decent offense in here.
Yeah, but Triple H kind of was beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, takes control, of course, and then all of a sudden starts acting weird and dizzy.
I need some water.
Yeah, sits down, needs some water, and
pretty much just collapses.
Collapses. They have trainers checking him out, and then Raw goes off the air. They never really rang the bell or ended the match or nothing. That was Raw. You thought it was good. I thought it was horrible. I'm getting to where I can barely stand to watch Raw.
Oh, you will stand to watch it. For all these viewers out here.
I mean, I'm going to keep watching it. I've been watching it ever since it started coming on the air. I'm not going to quit now, but it's gone through good times and bad times.
Beer helps.
Yeah, because if I were to quit watching it, then I'd miss like the next big thing that happens. But yeah, that does it for Raw. And now, real quick, we're going to move on to the week in wrestling history.
This week in wrestling history.
Okay, this week in wrestling history, I'm going to keep it real brief because, first of all, we're pretty much out of time, and this is something that's been, talked to death, and everything that needs to be said has been said about it. But this week marks, as a matter of fact, I think it'd be tomorrow will be the
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years since the tragic accident that took the life of Owen Hart. And still 14 years later, just bringing it up, I get a chill down my spine just just a horrible tragedy, and just Owen, you're very missed. You were one of the greats, and that's really all we're going to say about it. It's just one of those moments you'll never forget, and still to this day haunts us. I can't imagine how his family, his brother, and everybody else feels. But rest in peace, Owen. And that does it for this week's show. And don't forget, we got the email address set up. It's tpwshow@gmx.com. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think about the show. And for Mr. Ace Larson, I'm Electric Eric Davidson. We'll see you next time.